We are continuing to follow the latest updates out of Rome, where Pope Francis remains hospitalized in critical condition after a respiratory crisis. In an update, the latest update about 5 hours ago, the Vatican said Pope Francis had a, quote, peaceful night in the hospital, though he still remains in critical condition. Yesterday, he received blood transfusions to treat anemia. Joining us to talk more about this morning is Dr. Susan Timoney, Associate Dean of Theology at the Catholic University of America. Good morning to you. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me.
You know, as medical experts continue to monitor the Pope's condition, talk about some of the reaction around the world since the news of his hospitalization.
Right. I think that people are always concerned. It's not the first time that he's been hospitalized, but certainly this one seems to be a little longer. And so I think that people are certainly praying for his well-being, for his health. Hoping that he'll be able to return to the Vatican. But it's worrisome for sure.
Yeah, and you know, you mentioned it, the Pope's health has certainly declined over the last few years. Even before this hospitalization, we know he made some moves to kind of secure his legacy. Talk a little bit about what that has looked like.
You know, it's been interesting. I think he's had such a focus on really wanting Catholics to be fully engaged in the life of the church, to feel that they're part of the mission of the church. And so encouraging Catholics to more leadership, certainly moving women into positions of leadership where they've not been before. I think that's been a welcomed addition. He has really globalized the face of the College of Cardinals, and so has chosen cardinals from all over the world that represent every part of where the church is. And so those things, I think, have really increased the global visibility, I think, of the work in the ministry that the church does.
Yeah, and talk a little bit more about that, about this legacy. I mean, talk about what he has focused on over the last 12 years and some of the other things that people would consider his legacy.
Sure. I think one, this sense of solidarity. I think is a real interest in an age and a culture in which we talk so much about polarization. He found lots of ways to want to be able to recognize what people can do by way of aid for one another. So certainly the church's missionary and charitable activity, his outreach to people of other faiths, his desire to want to say that people of all faiths can come together, both to be able to address the needs of the world, but also to be able to celebrate the place that faith has in culture. I think he has worked really hard to support those peacekeeping efforts in areas around the world, to be able to say that the church wants to be anywhere where people need help, where people need consolation, where the dignity of people can be restored. And he does that also in really personal ways. He's been on the phone almost every day with a Catholic parish in Gaza, and just assuring them of his prayers and of his support. And so he's a master, right, at both the personal touch in a global context.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think the severity of his condition right now is concerning to a lot of people. Talk about some of the conversations that are happening right now when it comes to the future leadership of the Catholic Church.
Yeah, you know, certainly one has to begin to think about that. I think people will take a great interest in reminding themselves of who are the cardinals who are part of this College of Cardinals. They will elect the successor to Peter. I think they'll begin to think about what kind of person, what kind of expertise may best serve the church in a future papacy. And I think, to your point, also wanting to make sure that we give lots of time and attention to celebrating Pope Francis's legacy.
Yeah, absolutely. I know a lot of people are closely watching his condition and certainly praying for him. Dr. Susan Timoney, thank you so much for your insight. We appreciate it.
Thank you.